Hey folks, welcome back to the Fast Tracks. So in the previous video, we explained how to do the volume count for an equipment granite conductor when you don't have more than 4 that enter into a box. Well, we said that we have to do something different when we have more than 4. So we have to obtain an additional volume allowance. So we're going to show you how to do that. So let's go into our course unit and explain it out. So you should be in 3-2B of your Fast Tracks program. And what we're dealing with is the equipment granite conductor. We're working the volume again, but now we have more than 4. Because remember, up to 4, it's just one volume count. So it basically counts like one conductor when we're doing volume. But in this case, we have more than 4. We have to account for that additional volume. So all of the information that you see up here at the top is exactly the same as it was in the previous video. We're going to be focusing on this part right here, which says that, look, for each additional equipment granite conductor that enters into the box, remember, we're not going to use any of the equipment the equipment bonding jumpers that originate from inside the box. We're only counting those that enter into the box, right? And so in that case, if we have more than 4, we have to get an additional quarter volume amount for each one of those additional equipment granite conductors. Okay, so let's kind of look at it. So here's our picture. So here's what we've got. We've actually got 6 raceways coming in. Each one of these have an equipment granite conductor in there. In this case, they're all 14 gauges, so there's 6 of them here. Then we got A, which is dealing with 4 of them. Then we have B, which is the additional 2, which means we have more than 4. So we have 6 total, right? And so let's see how that's got to work out. All right, so what is A? These 4. So these first 4, it's just like what we did in the previous video. All of these are going to count as one volume count. And since these are 14 gauge, if we went to 314.16b1, we saw that the volume for a 14 gauge conductor is 2.00. Okay? Now remember, for every equipment granite conductor that exceeds 4, we have to account a quarter volume allowance for each one. Now, I like to convert this into decimals as it makes it easier to do the math. There's easier ways to do this, but what is a quarter volume? Divide the 1 into the 4 and it's 0.25, okay? And so it's 0.25 is what you're gonna be utilizing for each, so just keep that in mind. So let's kind of go down here, but I'll show you another way to do it as well down here. All right, so the first 4 is just 2 cubic inches, done, all right? Now, we're gonna deal with these additional 2, all right? So this is what we're gonna be working with. All right, so each of these equipment granite conductors require a quarter volume allowance as shown in table 314.16b1, which is, again, 2.00 or 2 cubic inches is the volume for a 14 gauge. So since it's 2 cubic inches, the volume has to be increased, and we have 2 of them, right? So let's see here. For each additional 14, we need to increase it. So 2 times 0.25, and again, the 0.25 comes from us taking the 1 and dividing it into the 4. Another easier way to do this is, in this case, it's easier, is that you can actually take the volume. You know that the 2 is 2 cubic inches, so do 2.00 divided by 4, and that's going to be 0.5, okay, for that scenario. Okay, so here you can see it right now that 0.5 is a quarter of 2 cubic inches. All right, so we have to do that for each. So we had 2 of them, remember, over 4. We had 6 total. So it's a 0.5, which is a quarter volume of the actual volume for a conductor, which is 2.00 because this is 14 gauge. So we had to do that for each conductor. So it's 0.5 for the one, and then it's 0.5 for the other one. So basically it's just 2, because it's 2 conductors, over 4 times 0.5 equals 1. So it's 1 additional conductor volume count. So what do? You take the 2 from the up to 4, and now you're just going to add an additional 1 volume count to that. So the equipment grounds in this box equals 3 cubic inches, right? So that's the total. So you have the 2 cubic inches from these 4 up to 4, remember? And then you get a quarter volume for each one of these, and a quarter of 2 cubic inches is what? 0.50, and we had two of them, so 0.50 plus 0.50 is 1.00, so that is 1 cubic inch. You simply add that to the 2. That's how you get 3 cubic inches. So keep that in mind, because if I had 7 or 8 or 9, then it would be a 0.5 for each one of those additional equipment grounding conductors. It's just that simple, okay? So on an electrical exam, you could get a question like that. If they give you 6, then remember, up to 4, 2 cubic inches if it's 14. If it's 12 gauge, up to 4, it'd be 2.25 cubic inches. Then you're going to be dealing with a quarter volume for each additional equipment ground that is over 4. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Hopefully you got something out of this, and we will get you in the next subdivision as we continue this journey. Now we're going to talk about other things that we're putting in these boxes. We have to get a full understanding of all things box fill. So let's move on into the next subdivision. Hang in there. You're doing great.